I'm Millie Weaver, and you're watching the Millennial Millie show. Well, the left-wing liberals, progressives, even the Biden administration are now just outright acknowledging a liberal world order. Now, what is a liberal world order, which we're going to be talking about? Well, we know that Joe Biden and the other globalists that want to have a global world government, they now use this term liberal world order in place of new world order. It's essentially the same thing. It's like a new world order with liberals in charge. They say that it's in the name of spreading democracy, but really it's just the power elites wanting to try to have world domination, and it's the destruction of American sovereignty and respecting the sovereignty of individual nations, and instead having contracts, treaties, whatever, that you have to then force all these other nations to abide by. So instead of us picking and choosing how we respond to, say, a COVID pandemic, or how we respond to different issues in our country, we would have to make sure that whatever we're doing is in line with other treaties, and essentially getting permission from a global government in order to vote a certain way or have things done a certain way in our country. It undermines sovereignty in America, and they're outright just admitting it now that this is what they want. Now, Joe Biden has already previously been outspoken about wanting a liberal world order, and I'll show you this clip from him in March 22 where he was speaking, where he just openly discusses a liberal world order. Here it is, right out of his mouth.
World economy, not just the world economy in the world, it occurs every 3 or 4 generations. As one of the top military people said to me in a secure meeting the other day, 60 million people died between 1900 and 1946. And since then, we established a liberal world order, and that hadn't happened in a long while. A lot of people dying, but nowhere near the chaos. And now is the time when things are shifting. There's going to be a new world order out there, and we've got to lead it. We've got to unite the rest of the free world and do it.
So we've talked a lot about the New World Order, and many other people out there, patriots, that have been ringing the alarms. They've been the Paul Reveres, the whistleblowers, the people who have been trying to warn humanity, warn Americans really, because this is a serious problem. And obviously people in other countries as well, this is a problem for them and their own sovereignty and their own rights in their nation. But the fact that these world leaders, these elite, the deep state cabal, that they think that they should get to pick and choose how nations respond to things, that we should all have to adhere or be in line with what a global government or global contract decides. No thanks, no thanks. Here's a Biden official talking about how this is, the future of a liberal world order, and that the gas prices you're experiencing, well, that's just the price we pay in order to have a liberal world order. I kid you not. So all this Biden administration coming out saying, oh, we do care about the high gas prices, we're doing everything to fix it. No, they don't care about the gas prices. They are openly saying this is for a liberal world order, and they're saying, hey, this is what we'll do. We'll just have these high gas prices, and then hopefully that'll encourage Americans to want to rely more on green energy, essentially, on having electric vehicles per se. Now, here's the problem with electric vehicles. Do they not realize that the majority of the lithium and and cobalt that we get from China, that we use to make these electric vehicles, that's mostly from China. China is the main supplier of that source, that resource, to the United States of America. So if you're saying, oh, in order for us to get away from being put under a thumb essentially by these other world leaders like Big Bad Putin with his oil, then we need to go and just be on green energy. Well, then that puts us under China's thumb. Okay, that makes it so that we're 100% reliant on China, because that's where we get our lithium and our cobalt from. But see, here's the other thing they don't want to talk about. Americans can produce our own gas. We have natural gas, we have gas and oil in this country. It's just not being properly utilized. Why? Because climate change and all these other regulations and rules that they want to try to put in place and say, oh, well, we can get carbon credits for not having it. So instead, let's just buy it from other countries. This is a scam. It is ridiculous. And it's time for Americans to become energy independent and start opening up some of these gas and oil fields and letting Americans have our own independence. We don't need to be having $5 a gallon gasoline or $6 a gallon gasoline, okay? No thanks. There's no reason for that. And sure as hell, these electric vehicles that, sorry, but I have friends who have them and they sound like a pain in the you-know-what nightmare to deal with. The electric vehicles isn't going to cut it. They don't even have enough of those rare earth resources, lithium, cobalt, whatever, to give everyone in the world or provide or sell everyone in the world or even in the United States electric vehicles. So to say that that's just the solution, it's just not right. It's irresponsible, and really they just want us all living in little tiny cities clustered together like their Agenda 2030 plan says, and they want us eating their Soylent Green or whatever the hell non-meat thing, maybe insectoid protein they want to feed us. I mean, it's bad, folks. It's bad, okay? Like, it sounds crazy what I'm saying, but I can cite all the sources. This is legit. They really want to go here. So let's watch this video clip of Joe Biden's a White House official talking about how this is what it takes. The high gas prices, so be it. We need to have a liberal world order. AKA probably communism, really and truly. So there you heard it. The future of the liberal world order. So there you have it. This is about the future of the liberal world order. They're just open. They're open about it. They don't even care anymore. It's right on out there for you all to see that, oh no, we don't want a new world order. No, we don't want a liberal world order. For the longest time, they deny this. And then now they're just outright and open with it. Like, oh, sorry, yeah, we have to do this. So they're letting the gas prices be this way. In fact, they're creating the problems to make it this way. They want to force us all onto a different system. They don't want us to be independent. Okay. Meanwhile, Pete Buttigieg is out there with his new infrastructure deal, and you can't make this one up. I almost forgot about this article. Let me pull it up for you. Let me see if I can find it. Freeways. So Pete Buttigieg, he wants to have an infrastructure deal to deal with the creation of freeways. And what he says was that it was racist when they initially put these freeways in, and therefore they need to have millions and millions of dollars in order to pay people reparations for having put freeways through their communities. And then also, goes in about how these highways are racist. It's pretty bad. Let me see. Highways racist. There we go. $1 billion plan to build racial equity in America's roads. There you have it, guys. It's pretty bad. The whole argument here is that black communities were affected when roadways, large roadways were built under Eisenhower, and really and truly anyone was probably affected that came in the path of these interstate freeways and highways that they built. But oftentimes that's an issue of eminent domain, and usually people get compensated for parts of their land being taken or even split apart. I know of farmers who've had their farms split in half by highways and freeways, and it has nothing to do with race. And I could see how it's possible that there might have been black communities being selected to have freeways go through them if in fact the property values were potentially lower in some of those neighborhoods. Then it would make for a cheaper eminent domain buyouts. But I don't think that it's a racial thing. I don't think like they were targeting people of color. That's ridiculous. But no, see, the Democrats want to say, oh, this is all about racial equity. Let's pass this bill in the name of racial equity for black people. And then meanwhile, when you actually look into the bill and what they plan to do, they actually plan to put in these new superhighways. So it's not even necessarily that they're going to just take the highways out, which highways are good. They help bring, traffic into a community, into an area, so that the businesses can have more potential customers. It helps people get to and from jobs. It wouldn't be good if some of these communities didn't have freeways near them. But see, this infrastructure bill, what it's actually going to do, it's actually going to bring in the police state into these communities, because these new highways that they're going to be putting in are going to be loaded, fully loaded with surveillance and security cameras on the road that can ticket you if you're speeding. So, this is all in the name of helping people of color, right? That's what they say in their bill. Like, recognize their tactics. Recognize their tactics. This is what they do. They say it's to help people, whatever. But in reality, they're going to be getting money back on that. The money that they might give to some of these people or families that may have had a freeway come through their yard at one point or another, right? It's all going to be, the state's going to reel it all back in when they're ticketing everyone left and right with their surveillance state police ticketing cameras on the freeways. I mean, it's just ridiculous. The Democrats just want to print money. They don't care. They just print it. And meanwhile, it's like inflation just keeps getting worse and worse, and they want to print more money. It's a disaster situation. But hey, what can we expect from these crazy people? It's almost like they're intending to destroy America. It's almost like they're intending to crash the economy. Because I wonder what happens if America goes bankrupt. If America goes bankrupt, does that mean that that we no longer have a country? Does that mean that, parts of our country start getting sold off and whatnot? I mean, I'm not even kidding you here. This is what we're dealing with these people who talk about liberal world orders. We want a liberal world order. Yes. It's disturbing. Okay? Disturbing. Now, Joe Biden is raging at the extremists. He calls it the extremist Supreme Court for Roe v. Wade and overturning it. And he admits that he's panicking, and the left are panicking because they know that they do not have the votes that they need in order to make abortion legal in all 50 states. That's their argument for why you need to have the federal government force everyone in the country to pay for, federally fund, or allow the murder of millions of innocent unborn babies all throughout the country. Wait a second. I thought the liberals liked democracy, right? I thought they liked the idea of democracy. In a democracy, people can vote for what they want, and then the society as a whole gets to essentially force their will upon everyone else. That's how democracy works, okay? So by the Supreme Court doing this, they didn't necessarily ban all abortion, although it was a big win for the pro-life movement. It's a big win for unborn babies, but it's not a big win for unborn babies that live in blue states, because what the Supreme Court actually did was they just handed the decision really to the state, the individual states. So more of the red states are already, some laws have just already taken into effect banning abortion. Some are set to soon ban abortion, and then some are very well expected to ban abortion soon in these red states. But the blue states, they essentially are likely to have abortion remain legal there. So their complaint here is one of states' rights and democracy, really. Allowing the states to pick what they want in the state they live in? Okay. But they can't handle that because they want to force it on everyone. Now, a majority of Americans are cutting back on spending because of inflation. People are, which I think everyone's been feeling this, you're spending way more money on groceries, significantly. Why? Because groceries are tied into gas. It takes semi-trucks to ship most of the food that we have in our country. Why? Because of the way that the current situation's set up. Now, it doesn't have to be that way, but unfortunately that's the way it's been so far. And this is the problem, essentially. If communities relied more on local produce and locally grown, essentially more like a farmer's market type situation rather than these grocery store chains that they get food supply from all across the country as well as even other countries. If it wasn't set up on such a global way or nationwide way, then you wouldn't be feeling the effects as much due to the high gas prices because food wouldn't be having to be shipped halfway across the United States to you. You would be relying on local farmers, greenhouses, etc. But that's not how it's set up. I'm hoping that maybe in the future, people will start to learn from these situations and start to build stronger communities and support local farmers, really kind of get together with farmers markets and trade and barter, essentially. But, we're all just feeling this in the grocery markets, really and truly. We're feeling it, and it's Joe Biden's fault. It's their administration's fault. And yes, it's by design. Americans are also experiencing $250 extra on gas per month? That adds up. So if you look at the average there, that's like $750 extra a month that you're paying, all because of the horrible policies of Joe Biden and his New World Order, liberal world order comrades, his little globalist buddies that he pals around with, and their agenda that they're trying to force down everyone's throats. So it's not right. It's not right. And what the Democrats are really panicking about is the midterms. So they want to get everyone's attention off of the gas prices, off of the food. But how are you going to do that? I mean, these people, it's like the Biden administration or like Marie Antoinette. And when they say, oh, the gas prices are high, you can't afford gas, well, then let them buy electric vehicles. Let them buy a Tesla. Like, I kid you not. Okay? Joe Biden, let them buy a Tesla. Like, really and truly, how on earth, if people can't even afford barely to put gas in their tank, are they going to afford some $50,000, $100,000 electric vehicle? Are you kidding me? And if everyone just bought an electric vehicle, do you realize how long the lines would be for charging stations? I mean, you'd have to have an appointment. It would drastically slow down traffic. I mean, it would slow down commerce, really. This is just stupid thinking on the parts of the Democrats. Stupid, 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 unrealistic. And I'm hoping that hopefully enough people that are reasonably minded, maybe moderate to nature, that typically are third party or even left-leaning, that they're going to start to wake up, they're going to see what's going on, and they're going to realize, you know what? It's more important to have food and be able to afford gasoline and have a stable economy than it is to sit here and protect these LGBTQ progressive ideologies that are just up in the air smoke that the Democrats want to talk about all day. And I idolize. They idolize this stuff. It's sick. So people want to vote because they support a cause, because the Democrats pull on the bleeding heartstrings of people. And enough's enough of that. Because really, New York had their pride. We know that in June, that's typically when all the pride parades take place across the nation. And New York had a pride parade. Now, what's disturbing about this pride parade, which this is an image shown from it, you can actually see these naked men literally marching in the parade. Tons and tons and tons of naked men marching in this LGBTQ pride parade. And some of these men were literally just shaking it and walking around and riding around on bicycles in front of children. There are little children that attend these pride parades. Like, take this video, for example. Look at this. But he's got Bugs Bunny. He's so fun. Appealing to kids with Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck. Like, wait a second. Seriously, this is creepy as all get out. Is this a pride parade? Is this a pride parade or a nudist parade? I mean, with how many naked people I've seen so far, like images, videos from the pride parade, it's like, are you supporting LGBTQ or are you actually promoting nudity and being a nudist? Because what's with walking around completely naked? Like, how does that support your ideology of being LGBTQ? Unless you just want to be really just very sexualized. You want to sexualize yourself and you want to expose yourself in front of people, expose yourself in front of children. And in that last video, you did not see children, but in this video, there are children in this. And viewer discretion be advised for this video, guys, because you do see a very tiny ding-dong in this in this footage here. But I do feel like it's important to see this. Okay, so you guys can see how sick these people are. And what's with these parents here taking their kids to this? Seriously. Disgusting. Here you go. Viewer discretion advised. These guys are naked. They're literally riding around buck naked on bicycles with their exposing their boobs, their vaginas, their penises, all of that in front of kids. You know what I want to know? I want to know how it is that when those naked people were riding around on bicycles in front of the kids, they even make a U-turn to make a point to ride right next to them, why those parents weren't like trying to shield their kids' eyes. Why they weren't trying to like block them from being exposed to nudity in that way. Like grown adults, grown individuals exposing themselves in public and in front of children. How the hell is this allowed? How is that even legal? How are they not being arrested for that? Like, seriously, any other random person decides to strip down naked and walk on a city street is going to be arrested, most likely for indecent exposure, okay? So how is it that they can do that and do that in front of kids, mind you, and nothing happens? Oh, well. Because then you would be a bigot. If you stop them from exposing their genitals, if you stop grown LGBTQ individuals, if you stop them from exposing their genitals to children, that makes you a bigot. I mean, this is the upside down, backwards clown world we're dealing with here, folks. this is what we're dealing with. And then you wonder why the Americans in this country that care about protecting innocence of children, protecting virtue, protecting what's right and morality, why they're fed up. Why they're like passing these laws, which the liberals say, don't say gay bill, which is really the parental rights and education bill in Florida. This is why people are fed up. Because they're like, this is not right. And we're not going to let this take over. We're not going to let these group of people that are depraved and have no moral compass set the standard for what society behaves like, for what we expose our kids to. We're not letting them set the standards or the laws in this country. And so, of course, The Hill is reporting on this, and the liberals are upset about it. But this is why, lefties. This is why. This is why Americans are fighting back in the voting booth against what you guys are trying to do by pushing this satanic LGBTQ agenda that wants to groom kids and expose them to sexualization at early ages. It's disgusting. So 10 laws impacting LGBTQ rights are set to take effect today. Yay! Okay. So we've got the Alabama Governor Kay Ivey signed into law a bill preventing transgender students from using facilities and restrooms. So this essentially, which that's their version of it, but this is going to protect kids in the bathroom, especially young girls, and their privacy. So no more of this locker room baloney where boys are allowed to go into the girls' locker room. It bars the educators from ages kindergarten to 5th grade from having classroom instruction relating to sexual orientation or gender identity. We've got the Florida House bill, which was the Don't Say Gay law, aka Parental Rights and Education bill. So that's coming into effect, which we know that one prohibits the topic from being discussed. And it essentially says that kids under a certain grade shouldn't be being exposed to discussions that are developmentally inappropriate for them. So it's just, these are discussions that should be going on between parents and children, not the teachers. You know, it's not appropriate. So Florida House Bill 7, Florida's Individual Freedom Act, prevents workplace and schools in the state from requiring training or instruction that makes some people feel they bear personal responsibility or historic wrongdoings because of their race, color, sex, or national origin. Well, good. I mean, they want to force wokeness and woke ideology in public workplaces. No thanks. So that protects you from them doing that. Indiana House Bill 1041. The now law prevents transgender women and girls through high school from competing in sports and teams consistent with their gender identity. So, good. More girls, actual girls, that don't have, that don't have male anatomy, they can actually get these scholarships, right? I mean, it's not fair for some 6'2" guy to be going up against some little 5' girls that literally has every biological advantage when it comes to physical sports. That's not fair. That's just someone stealing opportunities from girls. Go compete in men's sports where your body type matches that. But we all know that most of the time these trans individuals would place like in the very, very last place if they actually competed in their own gender in sports. So I guess that's why. That's their way of getting the scholarships and the awards. The South Dakota Senate Bill 46. South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem signed into law the year's first transgender athlete ban. So that's another one protecting you from missing out on opportunities, making sure your daughters can have full opportunities and scholarships in their schools related to sports. That's great. South Dakota Bill 1012. This is much like Florida's Stop Woke Act. So this is going to protect employees in the workplace from being forced to be subjected to race, color, religion, sex, ethnicity, national origin type of education in the workplace. They can't be compelled, or forced or compelled speech in college orientations or training is prohibited. So you can't be forced to do that. Because how lame would that be? Like any job you do, like you're forced to sit there and take some class on pronouns and whatever else. Tennessee House Bill 1895, April, Tennessee Governor Bill Lee signed into law a measure to pull funding from state schools that allow trans students to play on sports teams. So this is another sports team consistent with their gender identity, and this is really going to protect girls in playing in sports in schools. It requires Tennessee's Education Commissioner to withhold a portion of the state education finance funds from local schools that fail or refuse to determine a student athlete's gender using the student's original birth certificate. Tennessee Senate Bill 2153. In May, Lee signed an additional law prohibiting males from practicing in public higher education sports that are designated for females. The legislation requires Tennessee colleges to determine a student's gender, but basically based on the birth certificate. So this is another one of those ones protecting athletes in sports and making sure girls have opportunities in sports for scholarships and also in colleges. Tennessee House Bill 2454. This law expands existing requirement that internet vendors block obscenity and pornography on school computers. Previously, an exception to the law was educational material. That is no longer the case. LGBTQ advocates worry that the law will be used to restrict access to resources about LGBTQ issues. So that's what it is they're just using all this LGBTQ stuff in order to expose children to sex and indecency prematurely and say it's in the name of being LGBTQ. So Utah House Bill 11, the new Utah law bars trans women and girls from competing on sports that match their gender identity, aka that they weren't born with that gender. So Governor Spencer Cox voted the measure, which requires school sports teams to be determined by a player's sex that match their birth. So they're really kind of honing in there on the birth certificate. So these are some things that the left are not happy with because various states are now starting to fight back. It's taken people a while to kind of rubber band and get in there on some of these issues. Some of these were really big issues that people were talking about, I feel like a couple years ago, with the trans athletes in the schools and especially with the locker rooms. The locker room issues were really big in 2016, 2017. And so now it takes some time, but the GOP politicians and representatives, they start formulating bills and getting the wheels of motion going, and then now we are seeing the effect of that. We're seeing how the American people actually feel about that in these various areas, and good on them. Good on them. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the U.S. border now. So the Democrats have really had this open stance, open borders policy at the southern border. And now it turns out, which they're wanting to actually have a House committee hearing, the House Homeland Security Committee hearing on this, because apparently nearly 50 known terrorists have either attempted or successfully entered the United States from our southern border this year. That's a big deal. So they were encountered by the Border Patrol. This is a really big problem. Some of these terrorists were terrorists like these 4 Iraqi nationals that had tried to enter into the United States across the southern border with the plan to help kill former President George Bush. So this individual, Shihab Ahmed Shihab, was one of those terrorists that was arrested. So there are various terrorists that actually have been apprehended at the U.S. southern border, some of them even just being released back into the country. It's pretty disturbing because of some of the policies of the Bidens where they just, we release them right back into the United States and who cares. Definitely something we should be concerned about. We don't want terrorists to come into our country in order to commit terrorist attacks. It's almost like, all the terrorists of the world now's your chance to come to the United States because we have our southern border open, wide open, or even all the criminals in other countries are like, oh, I can just commit a crime in my home country, murder someone, rape someone, who knows what, rob someone, rob a bank, I don't know, okay? Commit a terrorist attack maybe, who knows? In their home countries, they know, like, I can commit all these crimes and then I'll just flee the country and come to the United States because the southern border is open. It's pretty bad. It's pretty bad, guys. They're saying that about 250,000, like 250,000 illegal immigrants are passing into the United States through our southern border every month. 250,000 every month, okay? And they've already apprehended over 50, or came into contact with over 50 known terrorists. That's a problem. And so they're wanting to hold a hearing on this, and that would definitely be a very good hearing, and I would be interested to hear about it. Okay, definitely would be interesting to hear about it. They're reporting that, Fox News is reporting that there have been 440,000 known gotaways since October. So a lot of these people that they catch are people that got away, or they come into contact with. They got away. It's just really a lackadaisical approach to the border. It's pretty disturbing. I mean, we talk a lot about states' rights. I almost wonder, is there something that they can do in order to enforce the states' rights of those southern states in order to bar these people from coming into their state? So, like, okay, so the federal government and Homeland Security is down there at the Border Patrol, and they're just saying, sure, everyone can come in. Well, where are they coming into? Because there's 50 individual states in this country, and if they're trying to come into Texas, and Texas as a state says, I don't want any illegals coming into my country, and that's what the people of Texas vote, okay? How can they then force that upon states? I mean, something needs to be done. There needs to be some kind of precedent set in the Supreme Court. This needs to be a matter where it's put to individual state rights. So, hey, if the Democrats want to have people coming into the blue states, I guess so be it. I know Governor Gavin Newsom is now behind and supporting some new law that's coming into effect where illegal immigrants are now going to be able to have free health care in California. Like, come on. That's because American taxpayers are footing the bill for that. So I don't think it's right by any means, okay? I think that we need to have a president that respects the border. I think our politicians need to respect the border. I don't think that they should be flooding these illegals into the country at the rate that they're doing. It's very bad for our economy. It's destabilizing our economy, destabilizing neighborhoods in general, okay? Because you don't know who's coming through. A good amount of them could be criminals fleeing their own countries. So they're not doing any check on these people to see, are these terrorists? Are these criminals? Are these cartel members? Are these members of MS-13? Oh, no, they're just wide open. Anyone. We'll take anyone. And then they come here, commit crimes here, rape kids, rob people, kill people, whatever. And then they just go right back. That's not right, okay? It's definitely not right. So obviously we need a president that respects that. But I'm wondering if there's something that could be done in the meantime, because we're kind of stuck with Joe Biden for the time being, right? Unless, I mean, the only thing I can think of is if we have a massive takeover of both the House and the Senate by the Republicans, you might actually be able to do something where, I mean, you could impeach Joe Biden for some of the many crimes that he has done. Let's say we could pick one of many, but I would say the first one is leaving billions and billions of dollars of military weapons, guns, everything, tanks for ISIS in Afghanistan upon withdrawal. So that would be a reason to impeach him. I mean, there's many. You could pick many. You could impeach him and impeach Kamala too, because she's complacent in it. She's part of the whole thing too. Impeach, and then the next chain of command would be the Speaker of the House. But if the Speaker of the House is a Republican, then it might not be so bad, right? I don't know. I mean, it does seem like a long shot, but I guess that's the only way I could see that happening. Definitely. But something needs to be done about it because we're being swamped at the border right now. It's not good. All right, so let's talk about the latest on Black Lives Matter and the summer, the raging summer that the left is trying to kick off. And so notice how in the summer leading up to the 2020 election, they had the riots taking place there, burning down buildings, the George Floyd riots. And I think that these riots actually help the left-wing base. It gets them all in line with the political topics. It pulls them away from their focus off into like Hollywood media that's just being spoon-fed to them in their day-to-day life and pulls them back into politics. And they get all fired up and emotional, and then they use that trigger event, that emotionally charged thing, like in that case it was the killing of George Floyd, and they use that to build their movement, right? And then really turn out their vote and their efforts. So we're starting to see some of that pattern arise again leading up to the midterm elections. We saw with the overturn of Roe v. Wade, we saw all that protesting, all of that fire up kind of protest action from the left-wing affinity groups. But now we're also seeing something else. In Ohio, there recently was a shooting of a police officer. They shot and killed a man named Jayland Walker. Now, this is what authorities are now bracing for in Akron, Ohio. They're bracing for potential riots this weekend. So let's talk about this. Let's talk about this story with justice for Jayland. So from what I get from this, he was shot at over 90 times and he was shot 60 times. He was being pulled over. Police officers tried to pull him over as he was driving, and he did not stop his vehicle. Instead, he kept going. Okay? So he kept going and led them on a bit of a chase. And then he ended up getting out of the vehicle and running. Now, this is where things kind of got murky. At first, they were saying that police claimed that Jayland Walker was firing out of his car at the police. And so that's where things kind of get wishy-washy, because now the police are saying that no, that's not the case. That's not what happened. And now they're saying that he got on a foot chase. So at some point he pulls over and he actually gets out of the vehicle and runs. And then at some point the police are saying he went and reached around, and the way he reached around appeared to be a threat to them. And at that point, 8 police officers fired on him. And here's what I will say, okay? I think that let's just say this. 60 bullets actually hitting someone's body, I do think is excessive. Definitely. Without a doubt. I mean, does it really take 60 bullets from 8 officers to actually stop someone? Or, I mean, you would think that that's what you would shoot if somebody full on had like a machete or like some other weapon running at you, then maybe you'd have 60 bullets. But they said that he just reached around in a way that they felt threatened by, and therefore shot and killed him and shot him 60 times. Shot actually 90 times. And 60 bullets hit his body. Like, that's excessive. So I do understand why people are upset about this. And there definitely merits an investigation. The 8 officers are on leave while this investigation is taking place. But here's the other thing. Why the hell are you not just complying when you're being pulled over? Anytime you're pulled over or stopped by a police officer, for the most part, you should try to, like, comply, because hey, there are many times that officers are actually shot by people in these stops where they pull someone over. Could even just be pulling them over for a ticket, whatever. And if you're going to act all crazy and erratic, the police officers are going to be in a heightened state and they're going to start to fear for their own safety. Police officers are shot and killed by people they pull over when they start acting crazy sometimes. So you have to understand also and put yourself in the shoes of the police here. They don't know what if this guy's like not pulling over and then gets out and starts running. They don't know if he's got a gun. They don't know what weapons he might have. They don't know why is this person running. And on the other side, there's so much fear propaganda out there, that telling the black community out there that police are just trying to kill you. They're hunting you down. That's what the left is really promoting, that all police are just trying to kill black Americans. So if people are being told that might play into potentially why he was running. Maybe he was scared. I don't know. But usually most people are scared when they get pulled over by the police. And if it's not necessarily scared for their life, but scared in general for, getting in trouble or getting a ticket or whatever. And the best thing you can do is to just comply in that way and then fight it later in a court if you don't agree with it or if you feel it was wrong. Okay? And you could videotape or you could do things like that, but there's no sense in just running away. I mean, that's never going to be it's never a good idea to do that. Hey, I know from experience, I was arrested. I mean, did you see me like trying to run away? That could have been bad. You have to just comply in those moments, and then fight it legally. Okay. It's just how it works. And unfortunately, situations like this with Jayland Walker are tragic. But now we're likely to see people rioting. There are already people protesting in Ohio over this. And this is what's actually really lame about this, is police and authorities are so worried about riots that they actually have canceled the 4th of July festivities in Akron. So they said, oh, sorry, we're worried that the BLM and the left-wing groups are going to riot. So the Akron City's annual Rib, White, and Blue Festival is going to be closed. They're closing the 4th of July festivities in Akron in the name of, oh, we don't want people to riot. I think they just want to close the activities, honestly, really and truly. They probably just want to cancel 4th of July. These cities tend to be more blue and liberal, and it doesn't surprise me that they're like, oh, let's cancel the 4th of July in Akron. Let's cancel 4th of July in Akron. So if you live in Akron, I'd say celebrate 4th of July, okay? Celebrate the heck out of 4th of July. And, they can't stop people from celebrating 4th of July in Akron. They can just cancel their stupid events. Okay, whatever. But people are still going to be, I'm sure, popping off fireworks and celebrating 4th of July all throughout Ohio. I know a lot of people are going big this year on fireworks. They're going to be having a good, jolly time on 4th of July, celebrating 4th of July. And really, conservatives across social media have decided, the LGBTQ movement, the progressives, take all of June and have all these pride events. So let's take July and let's make that MAGA Month. MAGA Month. Make America Great Again Month, which is what they're calling it, but it really should just be Love America Month, really. America Month in general. Patriot Month. Being a patriot, loving your country. It's okay to love your country. It's okay to wear red, white, and blue. It's okay to respect veterans and respect the flag. I mean, that's a great idea. I like that. So this month is MAGA Month, and today is the first day of MAGA Month. So don't let the liberals or these city officials try to cancel 4th of July. You can't cancel 4th of July. 4th of July is in the heart of every red-blooded American. You can't cancel it. Give me a break. And, oh, because we're worried about riots, we're going to cancel it. It's ridiculous. See, I think what's going on is I think that they're trying to rev up racial tensions right now because they use it as a political campaigning point for their elections. So they're like, let's rev up racial issues. They probably, I'm sure there are different issues where there are incidences with police, people shooting, firing, whatever. And they decided, let's start to elevate this. And this is a story that has been trending all day on Twitter. So they're really pushing this Jalen Walker story and comparing it to George Floyd and all these other individuals that were involved in instances with police where they were killed. So there's also been a real push on social media for this other story out of Ohio. And this is why I'm bringing this up, because when you talk about psychological warfare operations and how they do this on social media, it's key to look at what they're pushing simultaneously and targeting individuals with. So at the same time they're pushing that all these big bad white racist cops are killing and targeting people for being black and killing them, which is going to, it's very incendiary, and it's definitely going to make people emotional, and it's going to elicit a response of anger, aggression, outrage, and get people to try to take the streets. Meanwhile, there's this other story that's been going on and trending on social media of this teenage boy named Ethan Lemming, 17-year-old, who went to LeBron James's school. So LeBron James, the basketball player, he has like this school in Akron. And so at this school, in the school parking lot, he was killed and he was murdered by these three individuals here who are black individuals, right? And he's a white kid. And so they apparently beat him so bloody and mercilessly that, they broke his neck. They fractured and broke his occipital bone, which is the bone at the base of the skull. They just completely crushed this kid. They actually stomped his chest so hard that his chest actually had a shoe print in his chest. They beat him very mercilessly, let's just say. And this was all over a water gel gun. So apparently the individuals claimed that this boy here was shooting at them with this water gel gun. And that is what elicited the response, where they beat him to death and then fled the scene. Now, I also saw that there were videos of people protesting out in Ohio and saying justice for Ethan Lemming, because they're saying that it was a hate crime. So you have individuals out there saying that this was a hate crime because Ethan was white and these individuals were black, that this was some kind of a hate crime. So you can see them out there protesting and marching. I don't know if it was or wasn't. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. But if you notice on social media, they have these simultaneously trending. Okay, so there you have it. Okay, so they're out there protesting, saying justice for Ethan, and saying that this was a hate crime, and pushing for the authorities to charge the individuals, the murderers, with a hate crime, saying that this was targeting him because he was white. Now, see, I think the whole reason I'm telling you guys these stories is because these were simultaneously trending. And it almost seems as though that this is some kind of a psychological operation to get race riots in the street leading up to the midterms, so that then that narrative can be really spun very hard and change the narrative into the reason why you all need to vote Democrat is because literal white supremacists, racists are the other people. So it's like, yes, we screwed up the economy. You have higher gas. You have to pay more for food. Everything's literally going to hell. But if you don't vote for us, you're voting for white supremacists, racists, the Ku Klux Klan. I'm telling you guys, I think this is what they're trying to start. I mean, trying to do like more Charlottesville type situations, because that is a way that they really mobilize their base to go out and vote. Okay? So I'm not saying that there's any truth to it, like that there are individuals in Ohio that want to have a race war. I'm saying that they can use these they can use the social media websites in order to create these events. I mean, they used social media to do Arab Spring. They can use the social media to run their psychological operations and actually get people out to go and start fighting in the streets because they're pushing and targeting both sides simultaneously. I mean, you can't make this stuff up, guys. It's crazy how blatantly obvious it is and how they're trying to stir it up right now before the midterms. Crazy, crazy, crazy. All right, guys. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed the show today. I pretty much think this is it for today. I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend, a wonderful 4th of July. I know a lot of people are going to be celebrating 4th of July this weekend. A lot of people are going to be celebrating on the 2nd or 3rd. So enjoy your weekend, your 4th of July weekend, and enjoy 4th of July, guys. God bless America. I love this country. And I just want to say also thank you for everyone who's been helping, supporting me, and sponsoring my show. I really appreciate it. I appreciate you guys supporting real, true, independent journalism. I tell it like it is. So thank you. I appreciate that. And I just wanted to say, I know I recently got some support from various individuals on Cash App, so I just want to take a minute here to thank the individuals that recently decided to support me on Cash App. So if you guys want to support me on Cash App, this is what you can do. You can scan that and help support real independent journalism, support my work that I do so I can continue. So I just want to name off some. I'm not going to give their last names because I obviously want to respect their privacy. And with today's woke agenda, I don't want people to be targeted. So thank you so much, Terry B. and Carrie P. And thank you so much, Steve D. And thank you, a very special thank you to Eduardo M. And a very special thank you to Herman M. And thank you to Michael H. Thank you to Alvin D. Thank you so much, Raymond B. Thank you, Stephen D. Thank you very much, Joseph S. Thank you very much, Charles C. And thank you, Shane S. Thank you guys so much for supporting me on Cash App. It makes all the world of a difference so I can continue to do journalism. And, you know, I'm hoping that things don't pop off this weekend. I'm going to be following the story in Akron. But if things really kind of go down, I might go out there and see if I can get coverage, or I might send someone out there to kind of go incognito and get some coverage for me. So stay tuned, guys. I hope you have a good 4th of July. And like I said, I will be back on Monday. So actually on 4th of July. So there you go. Monday. See you on Monday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. I'm Millie Weaver, and I'm